Let's visit Gray Arbor Farm in Georgetown, Kentucky. Owners Kelly and Chris set out to do things differently when they decided to start a cut flower farm 6 years ago. Over the past 6 years, Gray Arbor has fostered connections with over 13 florists and local boutiques, set up at 2 farmers markets, the Chevy Chase and Georgetown farmers markets, sold directly to customers, and even held their own cut flower events, such as art shows amongst the blooms. Originally, Kelly set out to sell exclusively wholesale, but quickly saw the demand from local customers. She taught herself to design wraps and arrangements to keep up with what her customers wanted. Learning is what Gray Arbor Farm is all about. Chris and Kelly are always looking to better themselves, be more efficient, and get more out of their land, while also keeping their soil healthy and not exploiting its resources. They never use chemicals, which can make things difficult sometimes, especially when grubs and other insects come around. But that's where their 3 ducks come in, who forage for insects in the soil. Today, Dakota is going to be showing you 2 different arrangements, both using flowers cut only minutes before at Gray Arbor Farm. First up, he has a large flowing vase, and then he's going to show you a small bud vase, which is great for using leftover flowers from the larger one. These 2 complement each other really well, and we also have a special guest that makes an appearance. We're sure you'll love it.
Okay, so I've got my vases filled with water. I'm going to set aside the bud vase because we're going to use scraps for that if we've got any scraps. We can just start out doing the bud vase, but in case anything breaks, we might be able to save that and use that in the bud vase if the stem's too short for us to use it in the vase. So first I'm going to take Bupleurum. I'm going to use this as my base. I'm going to use it like a greenery. So I really need to kind of butcher this up to start. I'm going to cut it into several small pieces. So I'm just hiding my tape. And the good thing about tape, you can, if you're using a non-clear base, you can shove some of the greenery down through to hold. That'll actually help the tape hold the flowers better. You want to watch getting too many leaves down in the water because that can cause the water to become nasty and maybe not last as long. But a couple leaves below the tape will help really hold that in. You can always cut your greenery a little shorter if it ends up sticking out too much. Like if I wanted to pinch off a couple of these, I could always do that later on. And the good thing about tape, you can use shorter stems because they're going to be held in the water. So you'll have to refresh the water every day or every other day to make sure those shorter stems stay in the water, but it allows you to use shorter stems in a taller vase. So I've got that nice base of the Bupleurum, so now I'm going to start, I think, with my spikes. So I've got these beautiful Chantilly snapdragons that they have out here, so I'm going to use these as my height. I've also got a few pieces of stock that we plucked straight from the field. You can see there's still some soil on the end of that I'll just cut off real quick. Now I'll want to save a couple of these for my bud vase as well. So we'll use those so that they pair together and they match together. But I'm going to find my the snapdragon I want to be my highest point. I'm going for kind of an asymmetrical design, one-sided. So I kind of want a lighter flower, and by lighter I mean it's not a dark color, it's not as large. So I'm going to use this one as my height. We'll see if I can get it to stay in place. I may have to add a little bit more Bupleurum to get it to hold, but I'm thinking that is going to work. And next I actually want to put this fuller one kind of in the same spot, just a little lower, so it almost looks fuller, but down low, and I can see if they're going to hold on me. I might have to add a few more pieces of Bupleurum, and we've got a little friend back here. His name's Benny. And next I'm going to take this stock. I want this stock to sort of act as a focal heavyweight because it is a little bigger than some of the other stems we've got. So I'm going to place that one down here. Let's see. So stock is my favorite cut flower. It smells amazing. It's a sweet smell, but sometimes it can be a little peppery. So it's got a little bit of spice with the sweet. And the more it sits out of the cooler, it sits out in a warm location, not too warm because that'll make your flowers go bad, but the smell just gets stronger and stronger. You know, some people say they don't want scented flowers. They can't stand it. It gives them a headache, but stock, I don't think it would give you that headache. And so I want to use this other snapdragon, and I'm slightly bending it with these smaller stems. You can kind of slowly bend and hold in position and kind of get a curved shape. You can see I kind of want it to hang like this, and the tape allows me to do that angle. We'll see if we can get the stem to cooperate with us. Some people will slightly crush the stem to get a bend, and as long as you're not breaking, the water can still travel to the bloom, but I don't like to take that risk. I'm always afraid I'm going to snap too hard. But I think I've got the sort of the shape I want. Let's see if it will. Might have to cut it just a little shorter. Once it's in place, I can bend it just a little bit, and I might be able to put some greenery behind it to kind of force it down that direction anyway. And next I've got some bells of Ireland. These are pretty interesting. They branched and they stayed kind of short, which is, you know, sometimes pretty interesting to take something that would normally be a spike, and we're going to use it as sort of you know, a heavy flower down at the bottom of our vase. So I'm going to put one back here. I'm going to use this one. I'm going to peel several of the blooms off, and I'm going to pinch the top actually. Sometimes when you do that, so it's giving me a larger surface face, and that's going to serve as a focal point on the front here. Kind of taking away from the peach and the yellow or the orange we've kind of got going on. And I've got one more I might save for my bud vase. I'm just going to stick it in the water for now. And next I'm going to take this taller one and I'm going to place it behind our snaps. And this is kind of going to anchor the color, so hopefully it'll make that color pop. I'm liking the way that looks. I have a hole here, so I ought to fill that with something. So I do have some feverfew. This gorgeous yellow feverfew is just so pretty. And I've also got some yarrow as well. And here comes Benny. I think he's going to pass on through. And he's just making a little noise right now. So I'm going to take this piece of yarrow. It's kind of got a pink tint, but it's also a little orange. So keeping with our theme. I'm going to place it back here since I've got that hole. And now as I'm starting to fill up the vase, I can start to move some of these stems in a better position. So I'm liking the shape we've got going on. Now I want to fill this hole here too. I do have this Orlea I can use, which is really pretty and always fun. It makes things have this just gardeny look. That really matches the Buplurum. But I've got a couple green ones that will tie in with our green we've got going on. And I'm just going to tuck this in here to give us just a little pop of white. And then I've got one that's kind of wanting to droop. And I might try to mimic our snap we've got on this side. And kind of hanging out, maybe more towards the front with this one. I've got a couple pieces of annual stock. They're kind of tying all those colors together, so we'll use those. And since I had that one kind of draping out, I want to kind of mimic it with some smaller flowers so it doesn't seem like it fell or just fell out of the vase. You don't want it to seem like it wasn't planned that way. And I'm going to tuck a little bit of the Orlea greenery in there to kind of give it a different texture. And see, I didn't want to leave the backside empty, even though it's one-sided, but I'm focusing my color on this front so that, you know, it doesn't look empty, it doesn't look like we ran out of flowers, because that's a quick way to seem, for lack of a better term, cheap. You know, you didn't want to spend a lot on it, especially if it's something like a gift. I might do a hint of viburnum coming up a little taller. Let's see. I think it's looking pretty good. Might add a little bit more of the feverfew. You always want to check and make sure you're not seeing any of your mechanics. So if you were using floral foam, you wouldn't want to see that. If you had any chicken wire, my tape is clear, so you don't really see it unless you're looking for it. But you can always take little pieces you have left over and tuck those around to bend over the side and keep you from seeing that tape. And I'm liking the shape we have, and I think it's pretty full. It's not too full, but it looks substantial. Okay, now we're going to move on to the bud vase. So we saved scraps from the larger arrangement we were doing. That's just so we didn't have to pick a new stem and cut it really short for this arrangement. So I'm going to trim the end of that bell we saved. Next I've got a snap I cut short. First I'm going to add a little viburnum just to give me some hold. I'm going to add my snap. I kind of want to mimic the same style, but it's not going to be exact. I'm not going to include everything I did in the other one. Adding just a little feverfew. Bud vases are something you can do, you know, different designs in each one if you've got 10 tables or just something to break up. I'm going to introduce the 9 bark. I've got little tips off a 9 bark. I'm going to use down at this one side. And it's just going to add a different texture, a different color to pop with our vase. And there we go. Just real simple and quick. And let's see how it pairs with our arrangement. So there you have them. You could do this on an entryway, you could do both of them together. If you wanted to swap sides, you could turn it. But they're not the same, but they complement very easily.
Thank you to Kelly and Chris for having us out to the farm. We can't wait to see what the next couple of years hold for them, but goodness knows it's going to include a lot of gorgeous blooms. Be sure to check them out.